She is a freshman here at UW. His major is intended nursing and running for the PR chair for FASA.
I'll start whenever they start this quiet. Hello, my name is Christian Carmen. My intended major is pre-nursing, and I want to be your public relationship for 2016 to 2017. I come from a low-income household, so housing at the UW was really difficult for me. I decided to commute for my first year at college. Fall quarter, I would go to class, work, and then go straight home. I didn't have any real reason to stay on campus, so I started to come only to college because I needed to. One day after class, I saw a whole bunch of clubs all around Red Square. Walking around a bit, I hear someone calling me, "Oi, are you Filipino?" My inner Filipino came out, and I replied, "Oh!" Later, I came to know her as Kim. Throughout the whole fair, Filipino American Student Association stuck out to me. They were the first organization to reach out to me. That is exactly what I want to do for future members coming to FASA. I want to be an outreach towards them. I want to be the bridge for new members and alumni alike. As public relations chair, it is their duty to attract and make members feel welcome. But the problem is keeping them committed. I will make sure you guys will have a reason to come back. I will introduce you to leaders to let you gain a family to lean on. Going to school is really stressful. That is why having a foundation that you can call Kapamilya is key. Goals I have for next year is that I want to bridge the gap between FASA officers and members of the organization. I want to create a sense of unity among everyone in the organization. I plan on teaming up with the activities chair to create more social events that foster community growth. Another goal is to make our organization bigger, because we are one of the biggest orgs at the UW. We have about 50 members each meeting, and I want to be able to increase that by 10 each quarter. I will do this by pushing myself out of my comfort zone. This means I will start out small, like having a conversation with friends from class, to going out to Red Square and letting people know about FASA. By doing this, we can get a bit of recognition on the UW campus, and maybe even further, by just communicating with the people around us. If elected, I will reassure you that I will do a great job, because without you, the members, there wouldn't be a FASA. Thank you.
Next candidate for PR is Christina Umali. She is a sophomore here at UW. Intended major is public health, and she's running for the PR chair.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Christina Umali, and I'm running for the 2016-2017 FASA Public Relations Chair. So starting off, I'm going to tell you all a little bit about where I come from. Growing up, I was surrounded by a heavily diverse community where we all grew up together. Coming into college, not a lot of my friends got the same opportunity as I. I didn't know many people here, and for a period of time, I wasn't sure exactly where I was going to find the connections like the ones that I already had. I mean, I do admit that my freshman year, I wasn't very active in FASA, but this year I made it a goal for me to get more involved, from going to more general meetings, from getting involved in film night, and also running for this chair. And with getting more involved, I can truly say that FASA has been something that I can say that I'm grateful for. And the reason why I want to be your public relations chair is because I want to be that bridgeway between new members, current members, alumni, and the different communities within this region. I know I am the person for the job because of my experience with growing up and coming from such a diverse place. You need to learn how to work with all of these different people and relate to them no matter how similar or different background that you come from. And also with my involvement in P&I and being the current affiliate representative and cultural chair, I have been in communication and have the ability to maintain strong relations with various organizations and also community members, from Bonds, Uncle Bob, the United Greek Council, and all of the Northwest FASA organizations. If elected, my two biggest goals for the upcoming year is one, to maintain the relationships FASA currently has with its members and alumni, and two, reaching out to the other students in the other cultural organizations. Think about it. There are people in the ECC who spend as much time, if not longer, than we do. We see them constantly. We don't know what they're about and what they stand for when at the end of the day, we're almost likely going through the same situations. If we take that initiative to get to know others, they will do the same. Plus, in this time, I think it is important for all of us to stand in solidarity. I plan to achieve both of these goals by being genuine and being that person that someone can come up to and get to relate to. PRing is more than just posting on social media when that is a major key, but it is also about fortifying new and old bonds. Thank you.
And now for our 6-minute Q&A discussion, but I have a question for you guys. So as you know, FASA has a lot of events throughout the year, and sometimes they overlap as in they happen in the same week, they happen a couple weeks away from each other. What is your strategy, or how do you prioritize getting all of these events marketed out to our members, our community, in ways that we have a lot of turnout to all these events, to make sure that people actually come out to everything that we are trying to promote and put on for FASA?
So something that I have learned with being involved in P&I is the earlier that you start, the better. We as an organization have seen what happens when you PR late or you PR really early. I know, or what I would do is plan ahead all of these different events and.
For me personally, I would make sure that having these events really close together is the really great choice for this. As a PR, I can do so much. I can be able to tell people to come through and to just really just collab with a bunch of people. But just being able to talk to officers and have a consensus that if this event is okay, then I'll be able to go out. I'll do social networking. I'll put up flyers. I'll put up posters. And just being able to just talk to people, it'll just grow a seed, and it'll just be able to go around and spread. So that's what I would do.
Sean? This question is for Christian. So Christina, from her experience from P&I, already has that connection with the Filipino American community. What are your connections within our community? And if you don't have any, how do you go about making those connections and making them last more than just your term, but making sure that they last for as long as possible?
So for my what I can communicate with is that I was part of ASU Dub, so I was really close with MIC, PSA, and just a bunch of clubs, and just holidays on the islands. That was a really great event to just have different organizations come together. And not just that, being born and raised in South Seattle, I was also part of ACRS. And just this year we were trying to get Sayat to come through to be able to go through the film festival. And but with a bunch of time issues, we weren't able to do that. But next year I'm going to be able to have ACRS come through, and maybe even Filipino Community Center with Anna Marie. Yeah, that was a really great event to have it with Sayat, and I'm having I want to do future events with that too. You're welcome.
Alex?
Okay, so as far as members go with FASA, a big majority of us tend to be either freshmen or sophomores. And that's not entirely a bad thing, but what would you guys do in order to give a little bit more incentive to give the upperclassmen to come back and stay involved within the organization?
So I have also noticed that how this year, not a lot of juniors and seniors were involved in FASA. There were a couple, but I've talked to older FASA members, and they don't feel as if they're connected to FASA now, but I think the upcoming juniors and seniors, like a lot of us are, we have a passion for FASA, and we want to continue what FASA is right now. So I feel like just all of us, if we all show our passion for FASA, that's just going to inspire others to stay involved and make FASA what it is in the future.
As for me, I would just tell them to come through to a meeting because, shoot, as a freshman, I don't know about you, but I was just going to the meeting and just being culturally involved and just the community around it took my breath away. I don't see it as just a freshman thing. I think it's just for all ages. And And just being able to have that like growth with each other, and also just creating events that maybe can pull them together. Like maybe we can have like quiz and not days, but I'm not activities share, but something to like pull the older people to come through, because with them, in our culture, we respect our elders because they're wise. If we were able to have, and just having just those older people to come through to meetings is just good enough, but to have quiz and ates as mentors, I think will really just put us together and will help out the FASA in general.
I also have a question. As someone who's in charge of our Facebook page and all our social media, what is your plan for social media? Do you have experience like with Photoshop or any poster making, because that is a part of your job description?
I can answer that. In high school, I did a bunch of like films because I took like AP and also did like visual. I forgot the class. But we were able to use like cameras. We were able to do videography and just post it online. And I also do like Photoshop Pro. Final Cut Pro. And I'm able to cut stuff. And I'm also directing a film for ACRS, so I'm really good at editing films too. When it comes to like posters, I'm not the artistic one, but then just being able to have the resources around us, like I don't know, people who are good at drawing like Elise, we can just get those. And just posting on flyers and social networking. I got like 860 friends, so.
But if you follow me, I got a couple more followers than that. So I do know social media, it's easy to do. Everyone can do it. If you follow me, you already know. But in high school, I was very close to my photography teacher, and Mr. Kaler, even though he's not here. In that class, you have to do about every single program. Like, I'm kind of surprised at the stuff that I made, but we live in a world where it's so technology driven that you can learn how to do that stuff. So I might not be the best, but if you care about something, you make it work. So.
Hard work.
Next candidate is Brittany Cariosa. She is a sophomore here at UW. Her major is speech and hearing sciences, and she's running for the SAYAO position.
I love you, Brittany.
Hi everyone, my name is Brittany Cariosa. I am a second year student here, and I am running for your 2016-2017 SAYAO coordinator position. For this role, I want to maintain this open space where anyone feels welcome to come into our studio to learn about the diversity of influences throughout the Philippine regions, and to experience the sensation of performing our traditional dances. There's a lot of factors that go into planning and preparing for big events, one particular being the quantity and quality of our props and costumes. Now, recently this year, in efforts to prepare for our showcase this year, we created this prop masters group where the team captains for each dance suite were able to pull in the research online for shopping and looking out for props and costumes to replace and take care of the influx of dancers that we have. So I want this to continue to become an ongoing leadership building system within SAYAO. Props, costumes will become missing or broken or worn out. That is inevitable. I want to ensure that anyone who wants to dance with us is not limited to the number of skirts or dresses or headpieces, candles, etc. And that we have the opportunity to create big events such as Showcase, again, for the years to come. So a little bit about me. Besides SAYAO and FASA, I have been a member of both the Polynesian Student Alliance and Hui Hula Ulana, that's the Hawaii Club in UW. While I do plan to solely invest my time in SAYAO and FASA for next year, I want to still maintain the ties and close bonds that I've had with the other organizations, to come into their meetings and use the opportunity to connect with the other members and invite them to our studio. Within FASA, I want to bring up past and future performances in the effort to continue to let our voices be heard and recognize our instructors and dancers for all they have done. SIAO is my home away from home. They are my family, and I'm very grateful for what they have done to help me grow and thrive in this community. And I want to do all that I can to take care of my family and help them grow and thrive for the years to come. Thank you.
Any questions?
How will you get people who are not dancers but want to learn about the traditional dancing of Sayao to join and try it? Like, how will you recruit those new people?
That is the beauty of SIAO. What I realized that a lot of the dancers are coming in with little to no experience of not even just besides the traditional dances in the Philippines, dancing in general. It allows for growth as a dancer to just learn about our culture. And it's just an open community where the dancers, there are bonds that we create there to help each other grow. That's why I felt comfortable to stay with SIAO up until now. It's really just a matter of encouraging people to come into the studio just to check it out. I don't want to force anyone to come in to dance, but just simply let them know that they are welcome to come.
Alex?
SIAO sometimes can be very hectic and stressful. I've seen it through Dennis personally. And I want to know, how do you deal with stress management and time management in order to make things effective and get the output that you want?
Personally, how I handle stress. So I tend to put a lot on my plate, but the things I put on my plate are things that I'm very passionate about. That's what I strongly feel. So with that in mind, that helps motivate me to make sure that I do my best, whatever I can, to execute my roles in each of the things that I do, and also to make sure that everyone around me is also doing okay. I tend to put others before myself, so I just want to make sure that we are all together taking care of ourselves.
Last question?
I know the SIAO core group plays a big role in like making the entire SIAO group function, but you guys are getting older and Dennis is leaving, so I want to know. Sad. But I want to know, like, what are you gonna do to kind of like make the underclassmen kind of like take on that role, or will you do that?
That's a very good question. One of my goals with growing leadership-wise within SIAO, as I mentioned before, with the Prop Masters group, I want to just kind of bring in people with certain skill sets. For example, those who are expert in photography or in advertising. Because we have a lot of current SIAOers who are able to keep SIAO going besides dancing. There's also instruments management. Just with that, that is also a matter of keeping the bonds within each of the dancers. I want to get to know as many people who are interested in the dances, and so to get to know them, I can be able to encourage them to grow within our studio.
We're going to start now with our executive board positions. Just so you guys know, we are running a little over time, but if you guys could still be here to watch them give their speeches, we'd really appreciate that. So next up, we are going to do our treasurer candidates. The first one is Sunshine Arcia. She is a sophomore here at UW and is studying business and just running for the treasurer position.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for sticking with us. I know it's a very long process, but thank you for being here and thank you for caring about FASA enough to be here. My name is Sunshine, as they've mentioned, and I am running for the position treasurer. But let me begin by telling you my story. I was born in an impoverished town in the Philippines, raised by a single father who worked tirelessly, but it still wasn't enough, and so he let my sister and I move to America. I learned not to take money for granted at an early age because of my upbringings. Now, fast forward a couple years, and I'm pursuing a career in business, hoping to one day be a part of the liberation of my community in the Philippines. As a finance and marketing double major with a minor in diversity, numbers are my weapons of choice for my long-term goal of helping underrepresented and underprivileged communities make their mark in the corporate world. Am I too ambitious? Maybe, maybe not. But I think this is one of my best qualities. I'm not afraid to be a visionary, to think about the big picture and the long-term results while putting in work in the present. This year, I've had the honor of serving this organization as a cultural chair, which has allowed me to grow so much as a leader, communicator, and collaborator. But this wasn't the first time that I took on a leadership role. In high school as the ASB Vice President, I'm proud to say that I pioneered the first annual multicultural event and started a school-wide theme that is still being used now that I have graduated 2 years. I always tell myself, strive to leave things better off than when you started. If elected as treasurer, that's exactly what I would do. But what makes me confident that I can be the treasurer and be a part of the continuation of FASA's legacy? As a cultural chair this year, directing Phil Night while simultaneously being a part of other committees for FASA events and maintaining my Dean's List status every quarter means that I am no stranger to juggling multiple things at once. In addition, if there's anything that Phil Night has taught me, it is to be prompt in accomplishing your action items, be more organized, and to be firm when you need to be. And lastly, if you didn't know, this year we lost our treasurer. And thankfully, we managed to handle the situation gracefully because we have an awesome officer board who could do that. But because I was a part of this year's officer board and I witnessed that happening, I know what needs to happen. I know what the areas of improvements are. In addition, last summer, I had the chance to intern for the Boeing Company, where I provided cost analysis and cost visibility to all the business units and later become part of consulting them on how to reduce costs and all the more optimized profits. If I can do that on an enterprise-wide level, I can still do it now, and I will do it again for FASA if elected as treasurer. Now let's move on to what's more important. What do I want to do? I mentioned I am a marketing concentration in business. And marketing teaches something called being consumer-centric. In other words, all decisions should be based on your target audience, the members of this club. Therefore, I think it's important that before we start the new year, the new officer board gets a better idea of what our audience will look like. How can we segment them, in other words, separate them, to do better in catering to their needs and wants? To do that, I want to conduct a market research, if you will, through a survey to answer questions like, all right, how many questions are leaving this year? How many freshmen do we anticipate and do we want to recruit? What percentage of our current members do we anticipate to be active members? And defining what active means. And I believe that knowing what our target audience will be like will all the more improve efficiency on how to budget, how to do trajectories for the rest of the year. Another thing that I would work on is, of course, to work closely with the fundraising chair to not only come up with ideas, but set profit goals. I am a very goal-oriented person, and I think that that will serve as an asset if given the chance to be a treasurer. Thirdly, I want to further extend FASA's network in order to gain event sponsorship, which will help alleviate costs. And of course, I plan to streamline a bookkeeping system to prevent what happened this year from ever happening again.
The bottom line is, I decided to run for this organization again because I care about it, and I agree with what it stands for. And given my experience, my interests, and my eagerness to learn, I believe that I have what it takes to be the next treasurer. Thank you.
Our next treasurer candidate is Christian Buenceseso. He is a freshman here at UW, intended major is medical anthropology and global health and economics.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christian Buenceseso, and I'm a freshman here at UW, intending to double major in medical anthropology and economics. There are a multitude of reasons of why I'm standing here before you, running to become FASA's 2016-2017 treasurer. One of the reasons is FASA's mission statement and how it impacted me and what it stands for. FASA strives to foster unity and pride in the UW-Seattle community through cultural, social, political, and educational advancement, the 4 pillars. Stepping into UW territory as a freshman, I truly felt the effects of FASA's mission. In fact, those 4 pillars cemented the foundation for not only my academic life, but also my social life. Quick aside, a little background information about myself. Innately, I have a rather quiet, reserved, and shy personality. I have this primal sensorial instinct of analytically observing something before acting upon it. I tend to operate under the delusion or assumption that everything that can go wrong will go wrong, so my course of action often takes a more methodical approach. Basically, prior to coming to such a vast university, I was rather introverted and robotic. However, from events such as Dog Sleds and Philo to FASA Retreat and Phil Day, I transitioned from high school to the college life, deviated from the norm in the sense that I was able to quickly develop strong bonds with other people and was inspired to cause change in my community. This is something that unfortunately not all first-year college students experience. Because of such events, I was able to transform myself to the complete antithesis of what I formerly recall myself as, while still holding on to the values and skills that got me into UW. Reflecting on my experiences in FASA throughout the year, I noticed a common theme. For every one FASA event or general meeting, there yielded in me a step forward towards maturation and comfortability. A personal metamorphosis, if you will. With that being said, I am running for treasurer with the intention of sharing this euphoric experience to current and future students. By definition, the treasurer serves as a catalyst for change by managing monetary transactions and creating budgets that are feasible and practical so that FASA is able to have the events that are still integral in carrying out its mission. Though true to the tenets of fiscal management, the position of treasurer, while it is not limited to finance. No, it's simply about an opportunity to create comfort and enjoyment at any stage in your college life. Now, I do realize that the position, while quite demanding, is nothing to take lightly, which is why I'd like to introduce y'all to my ambitions and ideas and plans for the future as treasurer. The sole priority of mine is to first make sure that at the end of my term as treasurer, I leave FASA and the upcoming treasurer better off than with what I was left with. How I plan to execute this task is to be firm yet fair with all economic decisions by being able to say no when needed. Whether it is by performing a cost-benefit analysis before allocating resources into a major event or creating a budget plan beforehand so that there's a sense of organizational spending, I aspire to end my term with more money than received initially, while also optimizing happiness and diversity in all events. Another vision of mine is to create an emergency savings account that would accrue by taking a calculated percentage of our funds and putting it into this account, and it would only be tapped into in cases of emergency. This way that there would be an economic safety net that would help prevent an economic downfall. Unfortunately, that happened kind of this year, and stimulates the longevity of FASA for decades and centuries to come. I also would like to touch upon another ambition of mine, to begin saving and planning for Centennial. With the 100th anniversary of FASA right at our fingertips, I would take all necessary measures to accumulate as much money as we can now so that we have a better opportunity of having a historical 100th year that impacts and leaves a lasting legacy. So what qualifications do I have? First and foremost, I believe my strong passion in economics and desire to learn more about handling economic situations serves as a huge indicator of my commitment. I was taught how to work in a team by my experiences volunteering in the emergency department in radiology at Good Samaritan Hospital, and also being an event coordinator in FAHC elevates my skill in event planning. In all, my purpose as treasurer is to regulate the circulation of money so that we may be able to reach out across different cultures and invite collaborations, innovativeness, awareness, and inspiration into the design of FASA's mission. Thank you.
Questions? Yes, Bree.
Hi. So I have a couple of questions for both of you. First, how would you prioritize and execute FASA's events in terms of funding?
I'll take that one first. The way that I would go about it is through the the order of the event itself, because I believe that if given the chance to be the treasurer, I'm driven enough and motivated enough to find other sources for the upcoming events if need be. But also definitely taking into account which events are more important than the others. But what I would do, I would tier it. First would be the order of events, and then importance of events.
Yeah, similar to Sunshine's analysis, I would do the same. I would have a tier list, and also noting not only like how big the event is, but how it impacts the students and in what ways it impacts the students. So I would take into account, say for example, FASA retreat and what it does to the general community for Filipinos versus say like a smaller event like FASA Fridays. Like there's a key distinction, and I would find that distinction and plan accordingly.
Mark?
What resources are you aware of both on and off campus that you can utilize to fund FASA next year? And if you don't know of any resources, what strategies do you have?
So I'm not all too familiar with it. I know there's a lot of resources on campus. I know that you guys sitting in the stands, some alumni have several connections to the Seattle community or any like sponsorships or whatever. So as far as making myself more aware, I would definitely look into that. And I do know, I think it's in the hubs or in the hub, they have like I think some meetings regarding like how to like plan and how to budget and all that stuff. So I'll just make myself more aware, and yeah.
So for me, being the director of Phil Night, and also with the few tribulations that we have to go through, I've witnessed we divided the grants up amongst ourselves, and so that's how we know. I know that there is an ASU Dub grant. I know that there is a PISC grant. I know that there's a ECC grant. I know that there is a something called GPSS grant. There's a bunch of resources on campus that you just have to look for. As far as off campus, as he mentioned, alumni, they're always there. There's also now a lot of local Phil-Am owned businesses that you can always partner with and seek for sponsorships. Also, what I want to do is establish some sort of partnership with other student orgs that's kind of like, all right, if you're a member of our group, you get a special discount in their group, in their one special event. And so in that way, you kind of entice membership, but at the same time, you help the other group increase their attendance in their main event or something like that.
Julie? You guys both mentioned the loss of the treasurer this year, so this question is for Christian, since you're a sophomore and trying to apply to your major, since you're double majoring as well. How do you plan to, or what do you plan to do differently to make sure that your school comes first, but also be able to handle your position?
Right, so I'm actually a freshman, but so like what I mentioned and referenced in my speech, FASA helped me grow as a person. I definitely found my academic flow through FASA, and from that, I know that being a treasurer is very demanding, like you said, like how to balance it, like what's the right balance. Really prioritizing and acting now. I said that FASA helped me to be more mature, and now's the time to actually do that and show you guys, prove to you guys that I can do that. So I feel confident in my abilities to adjust, and yeah.
Bree, last one.
Given the unfortunate situation with this year's treasurer, how would you define accountability in terms of the treasurer position?
For me, accountability means being honest, being communicative, transparent, and just not being afraid to say I need help if I need help. And also, I don't want to put all of the weight on the treasurer, because I do feel like as the officer board, we should have done a better job of recognizing that he was struggling, and we should have approached him sooner if possible. That's how I would, to answer your question, accountability to me means communication, transparency, and not being afraid to say, hey, I need help.
Yeah, accountability to me does mean transparency. So one idea, I guess, is to be more transparent and like showing like what exactly you're doing as treasurer. So maybe like a Google Doc or spreadsheet that's accessible to all officers and updating it with every transaction. And also just in general, the whole collective of FASA as officers, like just getting to know each other more better. And we're a family, right? So I guess a plan I have in mind is to become one, and like in all families or the ideal family, they're usually really transparent, so yeah.
Thank you.
Right, next up is going to be our secretary candidates. Our first candidate is Charlene Garcia. She is a senior here at UW, studying business administration and has a diversity minor.
At my hometown, you'll find 3 small Filipino organizations. Many of these groups are filled with elders in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and there was no single youth involved but for me. And I knew growing up that my Filipino identity was very important. And I didn't realize how important it was till you latched on community into it. And being with these Filipino organizations, I realized, wow, I didn't know a lot about my culture, and there's so much more to learn. I remember being at an event back in my hometown with this Filipino organization, and a Filipino activist approached me and told me how I was important, how each and every one of you guys are important because we're the youth, and we need the youth involved within our community because you're the future. And she told me about the concept of bayanihan, the spirit of community, and she told me that Filipinos are known for that. And I didn't quite understand that concept till I came here and encountered FASA UW. My name is Charlene Garcia, and I'm running to be your 2016-2017 secretary. When I came to UW, I had a really rough transition. It was really rough. But the one person I knew on campus told me about FASA, and when I came to FASA, I felt at home, and it really kept me going. When I came to FASA here, I saw a bayanihan in every single member, and that made me happy, and I really understood that concept through this club. However, even though I was present at events, general meetings, and activities, I still felt like there was a wall. There was a disconnect. And it brings me to why I'm here and why I'm running for secretary. To my understanding, I know that the secretary is responsible for all FASA records and information. They work with presiding officers to make sure that they have notes during meetings and that everything is organized. They're the backbone and the support to all members and officers, inside and out. They book rooms, they communicate to one another, and so much
things behind the scenes to get the gears going and to make FASA work. But to me, FASA, being a FASA secretary is more than those fundamental duties. Yes, they are vital, they're critical and important to get this club going, but I feel like the secretary position has a much more powerful position because they know every single detail inside and outside of the club, and that could be used through so much power. They are a channel between members and officers, and as FASA secretary, I want to help foster and continue that pride and unity within the Philem community as the Philem community has done for me back in my hometown. Growing up through elementary, junior high school, and high school, I've done many activities, leadership camps, you name it, and I was particularly trained in secretarial duties, from parliamentary procedures to making efficient note-takings through resources online within your community. I've done all of that, but I haven't been able to find that outlet to really express it and to use it and to utilize it. And with 1 year coming up, I would really love to express that through this club, because I think we can do a lot. My role as FASA secretary is to help facilitate a genuine, open, and welcoming environment for new and current FASA members, so that they can learn more about their culture. With my eye for details and interpersonal skills, I will strive to make sure no member feels left out, because building relationship with every stranger and every person you know around you is so important, even if it means connecting with that one person. Sorry. FASA and my Filipino heritage is really important to me, and I know that I have a plethora of experiences that I can partake and give to my members and officers. With 13 officers, I've had a taste of the roles and duties from my past experiences. For activities and public relations chairs from the community chair, I've coordinated over 52 events in the span of 2 years at my previous community college. I understand the importance of logistics and communicating, time management, and the importance of prioritizing your time, being yourself, and also being able to help others. I've created flyers and programs and ads through Microsoft Publishers, Photoshop, and Illustrator, and I understand the importance of also being able to build an effective fundraising event. At my previous community college, I helped establish a small OC FASA in which we were able to raise $1,000 within a span of 3 months. Sorry. While executing all secretarial duties, I plan to take that extra step to make sure no member feels disconnected from the FASA fam. Thank you.
Next candidate for secretary is Sarah Lynn Santos. She's a sophomore here at UW and her intended major is informatics.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Lynn Santos. I'm a sophomore here at the University of Washington, and my intended major is informatics. I'll be running for the position of secretary for the 2016-2017 school year. I believe I would be well suited for the position of secretary because throughout my time as an officer, I've stepped up to take on secretarial duties at times when our current secretary was unavailable. My term as historian has also given me experience with lower level duties that I could apply to my duties as secretary. Aside from my experience with secretarial work, I'm organized and reliable. Officer evaluations always remark on how put together I am. As an officer, I have managed my time wisely and well. I've juggled my duties as historian with a full, challenging class load and active involvement in both Sayao and Filipino night. On top of all that, I've managed to make it onto the Dean's List both quarters so far, so you know, I think I'm doing pretty okay. I've kept my personal life well organized over this past year, and I believe I could use those skills to keep FASA organized as well. Finally, I have experience as an officer in general. As FASA's historian this year, I've gained experience with the ups and downs of officer life, and built good relationships with our members and my fellow officers. I'm running for secretary because I believe it's a critical role. Handling logistics and working behind the scenes to make sure that everything in FASA keeps running, that's no small feat. Without the secretary, there are no records of FASA's internal affairs. The historian is in charge of recording the events FASA puts on and the history it subsequently makes, but the secretary is the one that's in charge of keeping track of the notes and the records that go into creating and planning those events in the first place. Record keeping is one of the secretary's most crucial jobs. Although I've been handling a very different kind of record keeping over this past year as historian, I believe that I have the skills necessary to handle all the records FASA produces over the course of the year. But why is the position of secretary important enough to be on the exec board? Anyone can keep records and take notes, right? Well, over this past year, I've witnessed that being on the executive board is a tremendous amount of work for every officer. Being the president, or the vice president, or the treasurer, that's already a lot to handle. Without the support of the secretary, if those three had to handle all the record keeping and other associated duties of being secretary, on top of everything else in their already busy lives, they'd burn out rapidly. So that's why the secretary is important. Their most vital role is support. And it's not just for the exec board, but for the entire officer board. The secretary works behind the scenes to facilitate everything, making sure that the board stays organized and on track. As secretary next year, I hope to make sure that communication between the exec board and the committee board, and between officers in general, is always clear and transparent. This year, as the officer board, we did our best to cultivate an attitude of keen transparency, but we still had our fair share of issues and troubles. Therefore, I hope to stay in constant communication with the other officers, so that I can pinpoint when they're starting to feel overloaded and help them out. I'm not going to take on their job for them. As secretary, I would already have a lot on my plate, but I'll happily do my best to help alleviate the load. Along those lines, I also want to stop officer burnout before it happens. From what I've seen, as the year goes by, everyone gets busier and busier. Academically, socially, and of course FASA-wise, everything tends to get more difficult and pile up, and a lot of officers start feeling the burden, and not in a good way. I want to be able to pinpoint when they start feeling the burden, and provide them with resources to help refresh them and help them stay on track, instead of trying to spray them with a fire extinguisher when they're already on fire. Finally, I want to be the secretary of FASA because I want to give back to the community that has given so much to me. As a freshman, I came into FASA shy, quiet, friendless, terrified of public speaking, and content to linger on the edge of every group I was in. Now, almost 2 years later, I have grown so much because of my involvement with FASA. When I became an officer last year, my goal was to make FASA an open and inclusive environment, a home away from home for all of us. Looking at all the new members who are running for office this year, I think I can safely say that we have managed to create that open and inclusive space we hoped for. But it doesn't stop here. Being in FASA has provided me and so many other members with unprecedented opportunities for personal growth and development. Many of us didn't know much about our culture or our history when we came to our first FASA meeting. Many of us hadn't thought about what it meant to be Filipino American. Many of us weren't leaders. But thanks to our involvement with FASA, we've all grown in some way. This organization has a 98-year-old legacy of changing lives, and I want to continue to contribute to that legacy. Thank you.
So time for a 6-minute Q&A. Kim?
Okay, question for both of you. As secretary, you deal a lot with managing. I have actually 2 questions. So the first question is, what are your skills and qualifications towards Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Form, and also developing websites and delegating with codes and creating, very pleasing, visible announcements and reminders and things like that for your skills.
To start with, I'm a certified Microsoft user in Excel, PowerPoint, and Illustrator, and so on. As far as Google Docs and all those different clouding devices, I've utilized many of those for my different events I've done at Olympic College, from the Asian Festival to Multicultural Festival. It's very useful, especially when you're dealing with 50+ volunteers. So I'm very competent and confident that I'll be able to efficiently and effectively use those different sources on Google Docs, whether it be Form or Excel, so that everyone is accessible to those kind of things. As far as coding and data goes, I have taken information systems at the business school and have an idea of what it takes to build a website through templates and through normal coding.
I'm not competent in every single coding status, but I am at an entry level for it. I'm definitely up for the challenge and I'm willing to learn. And in that kind of status, I'm sure with a huge FASA fam, there's someone in the member or within the officer board that also knows how to do it. And so, yeah. Alright, so over this past year as an officer, we have basically lived on Google Drive. Everything we do is on Google Drive. There is a planning doc for everything. There is a spreadsheet for everything. And so over this past year as an officer, I've gained a lot of experience with using Google Drive, using Google Docs and Google Spreadsheets. I'm also proficient in Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. And as far as websites, as a prospective informatics major, I know the importance of good website design. I know that if you have a bad website design, you're not going to find the information you want. And as I'm not completely experienced in building websites. I'm still only a prospective informatics major. But I do know enough to build a good website using the tools available on Google, on Wix. And I also have experience with maintaining the FASA website over this past year. I was the one that was in charge of updating it.
Okay, so the second part of my question is, as secretary, you are sort of this median, and you're, like you both said, sort of the internal aspect of what goes on. And a big part of that is being a leader amongst, 12 other very strong leaders as well. So how are you going to, aid your development and your growth as a leader, as well as accommodate to everybody else? Because that's something that's very vital that ensures that your, group of officers are always growing and understanding each other's perspectives and, being very respectful towards them as well. So how do you deal with a situation where you're in a group of leaders?
I think it starts with knowing your place and what your role is and what your position is. It also starts with knowing the people that you're working with, your teammates, your officers, at a personal level and at a skill level. Everyone has different work styles, and it's just about adapting your personality, what you do, and your leadership style or skills and the way you do things and work with that other person. If another member likes seeing things on paper, you can easily just, adapt to that and accommodate with that. As far as it comes to mediating, like I said before, it definitely starts with knowing your place and being a friend with them. Knowing how to calm them down and just knowing them inside and out. Alright, so to be a leader among leaders is pretty difficult because all of us as officers, we are headstrong and we all have our own separate ideas of how things want to go. But I think a really important thing is taking into account who exactly is in charge of the event and who is planning it. Because in the example of Sayao Showcase, I earn other chairs like the fundraising or historian personally, they're not as involved in the logistics and the planning of Sayao Showcase because that's a Sayao coordinator event. But as secretary, I think the secretary's role is to aid in the logistics of all those events that FASA may put on. And although you may not always be the front leader, you can always assist the leader as best you can and just do your best to make sure that everything runs smoothly and efficiently.
One quick question.
Okay, so first of all, I'd just like to thank you for both your speeches, but I do want to touch upon Sherilyn's speech. I can definitely relate to you. I was a transfer student during my undergrad career as well, and I'm not gonna lie, I was hesitant to join FASA because I felt it wasn't inclusive. It was quite cliquey at the time, or at least that's what I felt, and it wasn't as welcoming. So what would your approach be to creating that inclusive environment? And especially because I know there's a large Filipino American and Filipino community out here just in UW, and I've talked to several and they're turned off by joining FASA. So how do you create that inclusive, opening, welcoming environment?
I think it's simple. I think it starts with just taking that extra step and saying hi to them. There's a difference between knowing someone down the hallway or at school and saying, waving hey. But there's a difference when you're going, hey, oh my gosh, how are you? What are you doing? Where are you heading? And everything. That makes a tremendous impact. Or when you meet someone new, just sending them a message later on that night and say, hey, great time meeting you. We should hang out, get shaken sometime. So it's all about taking that extra step that makes a significant difference and providing that inclusion. Because when you do that, you build personal relationships with every single person at a personal level. Not just as an officer, but as a friend beyond the club. And so it's those kind of friendships and relationships that you make that makes other people want to come. And I'm sure many of us could relate to that. You come to things because you know someone. Your friend is there. Your friend goes, you want to go there too. So it starts by using your interpersonal skills to build genuine relationships in that manner. Thank you.
The next candidate is Vice President Mary Jo Manales. She's a sophomore here at UW studying biology and medical anthropology and global health.
Can you feel me, guys? It's been a long night. Okay. Are we good to go? Good afternoon, FASA friends and FASA alumni. My name is Mary Jo Manales, and I stand here today with the honor of running for your 2016-2017 Vice President of FASA. I believe as a second-generation Phil-Am with the privilege of an American education and the knowledge of the Phil-Am and Filipino issues that I refuse to stand idly by and watch my community suffer. I also believe in the immense power of this organization, that this organization has within our community, and with those beliefs, it has become a mission of mine to help out the Filipino community in any way possible. About a year ago, I stood in the same position and promised this organization that as your academics chair, I would revitalize Project Family and advocate for the academic success of Filipino Americans. Since then, I have exceeded my own expectations by organizing a program that has touched the lives of 70+ members, and with the help of my team of mentors, we were able to hold monthly workshops and activities promoting all 4 pillars of FASA. We were able to host today an overnight retreat and establish the very first Project Family Scholarship. Through the dedication and meticulous planning, I was able to accomplish my goal of reestablishing PF, and with a strong base of committed students in order to ensure the future existence of this program. And to top it all off, I was establishing lifelong relationships, not only amongst the students, but with them and myself. In addition to my duties as academics chair, I've worked with my fellow officers to really revitalize FASA. Early on this year, I noticed all the strain and stress our officers were going through and suggested the FASA intern program. This program not only lightened the burden off my board's shoulders, but also gave our members the little extra kick to get more involved with FASA. And I'm over the moon that so many of you are sitting in these seats running for officer positions. Additional roles with FASA that I've had include help writing the script and the name for Phil Night, while having a role in the show as well. Dancing with Sayaw for Simbang Gabi, and being a coordinator for Legacy, and co-founding the Filipino Association for Health Careers. But now I'm ready to take my next steps in my mission by furthering my leadership and involvement by running for the vice president position. Over the course of this year, I've realized that FASA is run like a rainbow. Now, bear with me on this. I know it doesn't make sense now, but you see, FASA in the past year, yet alone, has held over 20+ community outreach events in the course of 9 months. We've had so many goals, and if you can imagine a rainbow, all these colors, red, yellow, green, and blue, all these beams of light, all these goals, it looks good, but it's ineffective. And so, a rainbow doesn't do anything, and it can inspire action, but at the end of the day, it just kind of sits there. And it isn't powerful. But what's powerful, however, is if you take that rainbow, all those goals, all those aspirations, and condense them through a prism to make a laser. And as an organization, we need to zero in and be critical of our goals and our missions and focus all of our efforts on what really matters. And what I believe matters most is impact, meaning, and efficiency. Impact in the way that which our events actually make a change in our community. I believe we need to be hypercritical on the programs that we already have and really fine-tune them so that the audience that we are reaching out to really gets our message. Meaning, behind every event, there are years, 98 years of good aspirations and intentions from our alumni. And these events over the course of history have tended to lose their meaning. And we need to make sure that we genuinely uphold this tradition. Efficiency, in the sense that we should really streamline our process with 20+ events that we have. You hear about FASA, what is it called? Burnout, yeah. Thanks. And it can all be avoided. And so, as VP, my goals can be condensed down to 4 main things. With Northwest FASA, as the Northwest FASA rep, I plan on taking charge of that committee by really welcoming all of the Northwest FASA ambassadors from all the other schools and making sure that they know me on a personal level so they can feel comfortable connecting with me and that when I speak up during a Northwest FASA meeting, they know that I mean business. Prioritizing events, like I said, those 20 plus events don't always need to happen, and if they always happen, they're not as effective. And then internal protocol. If you've known about our treasurer situation, that could all be avoided if we had a system of checks and balances incorporated into our constitution that would allow us to avoid all that mess in the first place. And if you know me, talk about this to all of you, Centennial Committee. 98 years is no big joke, and so I really want to emphasize getting all of your participation in these upcoming years, or this upcoming year. This year is crucial for what's going to happen this Centennial year, and I know there's only 13 positions, and there's 21 amazing candidates here. It does not end here. So as your vice president, I would love to talk to you all so we can all work together to make sure that this club gets the Centennial that it deserves.
So it's time for the Q&A.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Hi, Mary Jo.
Thank you.
Because I live with you, I know how much you care about this organization, and I know how much energy you're willing to do for FASA. But I also know that your academics have taken a hit. And so, with a even bigger role, how are you so sure that that is not going to happen next year?
Perfect. So, with this bigger role, I will incite the change to make sure that these, like I said, we have those overwhelming amount of events. And that is what contributed to my personal hit for academics. And so as vice president, coordinating with all of the officers, I will make sure that there is enough time to have effective events and STEM. I recently changed my major to medical anthropology and global health, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, and I don't think, as far as academics goes, the progress that I've made now won't hinder my success later on.
I know you talked about like internal affairs and internal checks and balances, which is great. Can you give me like an example of what you would implement, maybe?
So, with checks and balances, so say with our secretary, we would have a rudimentary system of where anytime we get a check, like for anything, there's a 48-hour deadline to deposit that into the bank, and that must be checked. So if the treasurer is depositing that account, checked by the fundraising chair, or also the president who also has access to such the bank accounts and signing checks and things like that. And like what Christian and brought up with having a Google Doc, showing complete transparency in all transactions that are occurring, and making sure that we all as officers are checking all of the others' responsibilities, and so that nothing really falls through the cracks.
Third,
Go ahead.
Okay. I really liked your idea with the FASA interns, and I think it's a really great success. And right now, Plata as VP is managing the interns. For next year, how do you plan to revamp the current internship that we have?
Yeah, so we'll do this quick. Starting off fall quarter, we will have all the officers running in the regular position, and then once fall quarter ends, you'll have the application open for interns, and we will only allow for about 5 interns. We had 8 this year, that's a little too much. And then with that process, they will have like around, I would hope that they would have a cycling portion throughout all the officers to shadow, so they really get a full grasp of what officer life is like. And then third, can I answer the
No,
question?
I mean, we're running out of time, right? So I'll save one for the president.
Our next candidate is our campus candidate, Mr. Bob He's a junior here. Communications and is a diversity minor.
Alright, hello everyone. My name is John Buenavista, and and I am running for the position of president for the next academic year. First of all, I want to quickly thank everyone for who's here at election this year to engage in conversation with me and the other candidates that stood here before me. I also want to thank everyone for the opportunity to let us stand and speak before you all as we take this important step together. I look back at the time when I was a freshman, stepping into my first FASA general meeting. Like many of us, we were probably there to simply check it out, talk to some people, make some friends, eat free food. But as we got more involved and as we participated in more events, we quickly learned that it was more than that. We learned that FASA wasn't just about making friends. It was about building a community where we can help each other grow, a community that we can help us create connections, and a community that we can call our family. We learned that FASA wasn't just a space for us to talk about what we ate today. It was a space for us to share our personal stories and experiences. A space for us to discuss issues such as what it means to be Filipino American. And a space for us to explore our cultural identity together in union and in solidarity. We learned in FASA that just because we were different doesn't mean we need to be ashamed of it. We learned how to embrace our skin and be proud of our culture and to provide ourselves creative platforms to share our talents and stories into our communities. We learned that FASA itself has a long and rich history and have had extraordinary leaders that have fought for what was right and paved the way so that future leaders and members can experience a better tomorrow. And see, that is what it's all about. To set up people for success. That is the reason why we do what we do and why we're doing it that way. It's to set up people for success and to set them up to become leaders themselves so that they too can pay it forward. See, it wasn't about being a social club. It was about being an organization that has the potential to create social change within ourselves, but also within and beyond our community. But after all this, we have also learned that we can always do better. As president, the officer board and I will implement the Kuya Ate program, or a mentorship program within our community to bridge the underclassmen and upperclassmen together, to address the issue of the lack of upperclassmen involvement in our community, to foster academic excellence, and to give upperclassmen an incentive to be more involved. As president, the officer board and I will create a centennial committee. We are way too late in the game, and in order to properly honor the alumni that came before us and made the organization to what it is today, we need to start now and plan it efficiently. As president, the officer board and I will have multiple alumni involvement throughout the year, especially during summer, providing workshops and discussions in order to develop the necessary skills and knowledge that the officers and I will need to not only address the issue of having new faces in the board, but also in order for us to execute our events properly and efficiently during the school year. As president, the officer board and I will give equal attention to each committee chair so that members and leaders in our community are well-rounded and that they are well engaged in community service, striving for academic excellence, politically conscious, continuing to explore their cultural identity, and helping build a positive community. And as president, I will stand alongside mine and FASA's values and mission confidently so that we can create future leaders for a better tomorrow. Thank you.
I want to go first. You did mention a lot of things you want to implement for the year, and then Mary Jo talked about how we did like 50 events throughout the 9 months. What are you willing to give up in order for you to implement the ones that you plan to achieve in your year?
That is something that the officer board and I will need to talk about. We need to talk about what's meaningful, what's going to make the most impact in our community, and from there we can decide which one we should leave out and which ones to keep.
Bree?
What do you consider your weaknesses as a leader, and how do you plan to improve?
That's a good question. I think one weakness of mine is being punctual, but that is something you can always improve on. That's not a big deal to me. That isn't. I don't see that as an issue for the next upcoming year.
Other questions? Mark?
Building on that, or your response actually, you get sick a lot. Because I lived with you for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
What strategies or what ways do you see yourself setting yourself up for and the rest of your board to succeed if you are not present?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay. So if you are sick
Yeah.
or you are not able to do your duties, what strategies do you have to make sure that your team is best equipped to continue without you?
Okay. Well, first, team transparency. I'm gonna need to be transparent that I'm not gonna be available to lead. Or I'm not gonna be available to be in the event. So then I would then rely heavily on the FASA officer board. And as y'all saw, they're all very capable of leading this organization. I'm not worried.
One last question?
From your speech, I think what I've heard was plan to throw a party during Centennial, and you plan to throw workshops. What I'm curious about is this thing that's going on right now with FASA, right? As far as not being called a legacy group, right? I think that's a big thing. For the folks that don't know, I mean, if it wasn't for FASA, there probably no OMAD, feel me?
Yep.
No EOP, no ECC, no ECT. BSU have contributed to that. MECHA have contributed to that, First Nations, and the one that seems to be always being swept under the rug is FASA, right? And I feel like you guys are getting punked, okay? Because nobody's punking BSU, nobody's punking MECHA, nobody's punking First Nations. Of course, I'm talking about in context of the system of white supremacy. Feel me? So you as a leader, right? And I know that you're the only one running right now, and it's not guaranteed that you're going to be a shoe-in, right? Just like the candidates that ran by, with no opponents, right?
Yep.
And half of the candidates don't really have that experience, just based on what I've heard, right? So they're gonna be looking your way.
Yep.
Right? And I'm a little surprised Claudette even running. But that's besides the case. So how are you going to continue that fight for that legacy group position? Because a lot of that comes with funding, so on and so forth. That a lot of you guys probably won't know about now that we cross the administrative tracks here. And how are you going to motivate these inexperienced future officers to move on? And why would we take it seriously?
So as I said in my speech, FASA has done so much for me, and I'm sure it's done so much for you. I mean, that's the reason why you guys are all lead right now. Sitting right here over time. We need to first understand who we are and why we're doing this, right? So under a collective goal, we need to mobilize as a group and address the issue in hand. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
No, not really.
Could you repeat those questions?
Yeah. How are you gonna move forward with this, you guys' fight with legacy, and this legacy issue, right? And how are you gonna motivate your inexperienced officers? And since you guys are about to vote right now, why should we take it seriously?
Well, to answer your last question, why you should take me seriously, I've been part of FASA since I was a freshman, and if you know me, I've been involved in almost everything that FASA has put on. Why you should take me seriously? Because I care. We wear the same skin color. We experience the same things. We have the same stories. We have, we all understand each other. And the reason why I'm running for president is to answer how we're gonna continue to fight our fight against not having this organization as a legacy group. Is we need to let them know that FASA. In my speech, I've said what FASA is, what FASA has done, all the things that we've done that's changed so many lives for 98 years. And with that said, I think we're able. Yeah, I think we can meet as a group and fight for it.
Thank you.
This is what ends FASA officer elections. Can we give one big round of applause for all of our candidates who won. Voting officially starts now. AJ and Kim have the ballots upstairs. You can go ahead and vote. Make sure to check with them if you are a paid FASA member, and candidates you can vote too.